The Senate votes on the Stormtrooper Initiative. Important information comes to light. Echo makes a big decision and more as the Sky Guys are back to recap the latest episodes of The Bad Batch.
Hello there, welcome back to the Sky Guys podcast. We are covering all the great Star Wars stuff out here, including the mid-season event of The Bad Batch. 2 episodes dropped this week. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Phillips. Joining me today, we got him back off the injured list this week. The man who's voicing the narration every single week. Pete Consadori is here. Pete, how are you?
I'm doing well. Missed about 3 episodes, so I'm sorry to leave you guys hanging, but I'm excited to come back and talk Star Wars with you guys. It's been a while. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming through the pipeline here. Very excited to talk with you guys.
Yeah, and Pete was when I saw last week the Hunter was listening to Tree, and I figured Pete was gonna get very annoyed about that.
Oh my God! Can we just take 2 seconds at the top really quick before we just? What the hell was that? That's all I want to say. 2 seconds I wanted. That's the 2 seconds. And by the way, sorry everyone, I don't have my camera working correctly. I think it might be my device. I'm hoping it's not. So all you get to see is my beautiful name on a black kind of card there. So there you go.
It's the disembodied voice of Pete Consadori.
Yeah, I'm behind the curtain. I'm the Wizard of Oz. This is how we're gonna do it for the rest of the show today.
Yep. Also with us today here, the lead senator on this podcast, Nick Fraietta, is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing great. This was what I was hoping for when I was told about a Bad Batch season 2. So I'm excited, and let's just get all our plugs and all that out of the way so we can talk about it.
Absolutely here. And Pete, people want to hear us here on the podcast. Feel free to subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon, all the usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys podcast, favorite podcast platforms, final episodes there, including, Pete, like the stuff exclusive to this feed, which is for all the Just on the Suffering people here, all the Bad Batch stuff, plus Mando Mondays until the preview comes out. So you're missing a lot if you're not on the feed. Yeah,
a lot of exclusive features. Definitely subscribe. If you're not subscribed already, get on it. I think it's definitely a productive thing to do. If you're a Star Wars fan, you get a bunch of our content here, and you get to get Mando Mondays. By the way, love that name. I like the Mando Mondays. So yeah, I mean, and we're slowly and actually quickly approaching Mandalorian season 1 here. I mean, we're about a little less than a month away, correct?
Yeah, we're about on date of record. We are 3 weeks away.
3 weeks. I mean, time flies when you have. So get that exclusive content while you can. Get prepared for Mandalorian season 3. You're not going to want to watch season 3 without our commentation here prior to that season.
Also, I will say here, if you like what you hear on the podcast, also feel free to leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts here. I was looking at our ratings today here. We got a bunch of 5 stars. 1 2-star got thrown in there because they were mad we don't like The Last Jedi. So
hey, listen, that's bound to happen.
Yeah. So you know what? If the negative one is a 2, it's all right.
Yeah,
it's better than a 1.
Yep. So I say, if you like us, feel free to leave the 5 stars here. And Nick, we also have more content going up on the Instagram. How can people follow us there?
At Sky Guys Podcast.
Yep, you can do the same on Twitter at Sky Guys Podcast as well. There we share some news, comment what's going on the Sky Guys Twitter feed here. Also follow the YouTube page, Mike Phillips on YouTube, for the video versions of the conversation here we have here in the episode. And I don't really have an appropriate figure here, so I'll break out an oldie and a goodie. I'll bring out R2, which I don't know why, Nick, he was not the droid in this episode.
There was an R2, not the R2.
Yeah, there was an R5 here, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think he said R5, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, well, it was an R unit.
Yep, it was an R unit droid here. And let's get the stage set up here, Nick. There's a lot of Star Wars news this week that we had to catch up on since the last time we were here.
Yeah. So first, let's talk about. We got 3 things here. I guess it's 4, but 3 main ones here. D. Bradley Baker had an interview that's up on StarWars.com. Not sure why the article was released now, but
well, today was also the mid-season premiere, so I mean, like the mid-season event, so I didn't want to try and pump people up for the back half.
Yeah, but long story short, this article just goes into detail about what is to expect from this season in the show, and a lot of things we haven't seen yet with Crosshair and Omega, and he basically says we're in for a treat. So, if you don't feel like we were treated so far, expect good things to come.
Yeah, and P, I'm gonna link this in the show notes to the audience here, so they want to read this here. He does go into some good stuff about some of these character motivations here, including Hunter as well. It's about how Hunter sort of has to be nudged to take more action against the Empire.
Yeah, I mean, this article kind of, not to say it's damage control, but maybe they kind of knew the front half was not as entertaining as maybe the back half of the season. So yeah, I mean, definitely that link's going to be up. Definitely take a look at that article.
All right, Nick, what else you got here in the news department?
Also, Star Wars Visions season 2 is going to be coming, or I don't know if you call it season 2. I think it's volume 2 is what they're calling it. That's going to be dropping on May 4th. That's good. I feel like there's always some sort of content on May 4th, which makes sense. Now, we've said before on the podcast that we personally are not big Vision fans, but I know there's an audience for it, and I know it's for people out there, and there's people out there that love it. So mark your calendar for that. And of course, we'll cover it, but not our thing. Number one.
Yeah, for the guy who gave us 2 stars for The Last Jedi here, I feel like the Vision people might sort of feel the same way if we don't like it as much. But again, just to point out here, like, it's not for everything is not for everybody here. Like, I'm sure there are a lot of people who love Vision. In fact, John Stanko, friend of the podcast, he's a big fan of the Visions.
I didn't know that. I feel like maybe I did and I forgot, but I'm definitely not because it's bad content. It's just not my cup of tea when it comes to the style of the show.
Same. Yeah, it's just not something that I'm interested in. But lastly, we have Star Wars Celebration is in, I don't know exactly where. I know it's Europe. Do you know exactly where?
I believe it's London.
Okay, so it's in London coming up. And today we heard that they're going to be announcing a Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary panel and a guest star of Rosario Dawson, who will be Ahsoka. So maybe we'll have some sort of an announcement on a release date for that. Then I'm assuming we'll get a release date of Ahsoka roughly around the Andor time slot. But then I'm not really sure what's going to be going on in the summer. Maybe nothing. Maybe something. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll be early summer. We'll see.
Yeah, I would assume that if she's going to be there, they're probably going to have a panel with her with that show and do maybe a trailer and a release day. I assume all that's coming. That's, I think, April 10th. I want to say, Nick, is when the celebration is, somewhere in that window.
I'll look at real quick. Do you want to move on and let you know?
Yeah, so P, I would assume that we're getting the Ahsoka tease basically confirmed at Celebration.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a wasted opportunity if they don't. You have Rosario Dawson there. It's a celebration, right? It's going to be after Mando. I have a funny feeling that what you're
saying, during Mando, no?
It is during Mando.
During, right? Yeah, I keep thinking it's like
it's Easter weekend.
But March 6th. Oh, I guess it still would be. Anyway, so it's during Mando. So I mean, I think it would definitely be a missed opportunity if they didn't do something to announce anything about the Ahsoka show. So I'm hoping, I am hoping that there is some information there.
Yeah, that's all the news for now. There's a bunch of more Mando news. We'll cover that, Nick, on Mando Mondays this week when we go back and watch the Mando cut for the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes, excited for that.
We are excited for that. We'll get to that one on Monday here, but we're going to go here to the Bad Batch here, a 2-part mid-season event here, they're calling it. Truth and Consequences, The Clone Conspiracy, 2 episodes, about an hour runtime total here. So, Pete, since you were not here last week, I'll go to you first. What do you think about what we got today?
I really liked it. I think it was a step in the right direction. I think we kind of flip-flopped back and forth this first half of the season. I felt like we took a step forward, took a couple steps back, step forward. Character-wise, I still have my kind of problems with some of the characters, but story-wise, I feel like it was jam-packed with content. It's the content that we wanted. I think I speak for most Star Wars fans that this is content that, in some aspects we needed, right? There's some plot holes that are being filled here, which is pretty cool. But overall, I really enjoyed the 2 episodes.
Yeah, Nick, color I noticed today is also a lot of cameos. You got a lot of characters that we've seen before pop up again in good places here. An interesting note here is that the first half of this, the Truth and Consequences episode, no actual Bad Batch characters in the show here. It's all people we've seen before or new characters. So it's like another team was in the first half. So I guess it makes sense why they put the 2 together. So you don't go without the team for an entire week.
Yeah, it makes sense. There's a conflict that happens that doesn't involve them. And then in the second episode, which of course we'll move on to after this episode, but then you bring in our heroes to help save the day. You see the conflict arise, and then you help the conflict happen or fix.
It's a little bit reminds me of last year's episode when we had Hera's episode, like young Hera's episode, and then they were barely in the first one. The second one they helped out. Sort of the same model. I think they did it better here.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to this episode here. So we're gonna start. We're going through both episodes, go through the plot and everything before we get to all the trackers and stuff here. So we're gonna start. We go to Coruscant, Nick. Planet you've been dying to see in this time period.
Yeah, I'm very excited that we got to get start there. As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh yes, here we go."
Yeah, here we go. We do go to a cantina on Coruscant. We see two clones there, Pete named Slip and Cade, and they're talking about the whole situation with the Empire destroying Kamino. We find out that Vice Admiral Rampart is basically sold that it was a freak storm that basically destroyed the planet here. They were both serving on the ship. Cade wants to go public and say what happened here. Well, he gets gunned down, and Slip basically has to sort of decide whether he wants to carry the mantle forward here. So, what do you think about how he got tossed into this plot?
I think it's good. I think this was organic. I don't think it was kind of forced upon us. I don't like it when they just tell us the facts. It's just like there it is. Enjoy it. I think there was a lot of side things going on, right? We had Slip. He's kind of like, having an issue too. I mean, I think this was the perfect intro to the two episodes. Was it the perfect Star Wars intro? Maybe not. But for at least these two episodes, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was good here. Nick, did you like how we started here before we got to the Senate?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Thought it was great.
Yeah, the one thing that confused me was at first when I saw the sniper, I was like, "Oh, I thought Crosshair killed them," and then they went a different direction with that. So I thought that was interesting.
I always like when I'm wrong because I thought the same thing, and like when it's not him, well, if it is him, I'm like, "Oh, yep, I knew. All right, no more mystery." But when it's not him, I'm like, "Oh, this creates a whole new mystery kind of thing." So in that sense, I was happy about it.
I was happy about it too here, and then Pete, we go to the Senate for the first time. They're having a debate over this military bill that Vice Admiral Rampart's proposed here. And the idea is here that we're going to phase out the clone troopers and we're going to bring in conscripted soldiers that end up becoming our stormtroopers down the line here. We see that Senator Rio Chuchi, who is a character who's carried over from Clone Wars, he's appeared a bunch of there, that she is saying like she's advocating for the rights of the clones and that, they are not like being treated right here. So what is it about having this sort of debate on the Senate floor?
Yes, the Italian senator in Star Wars. I think it was good. I think it was something that is reminiscent of the Clone Wars and also what we saw in the movies, right? I think that was something that was a nice, not callback, but a theme callback, if you will. And I think we kind of pushed away from that a bunch with different shows that we've seen, Book of Boba Fett, Andor, Obi-Wan, even Bad Batch here up until this point. So I think it was a good back and forth. The consensus on these episodes for me are always going to be the same. It was a really great structure to this episode, and I think it was perfectly placed.
Yeah, Nick, I did think it was interesting here that we had this whole sort of thing where like we want the Senate to pass the stormtrooper bill as opposed to just ramming it down their throats. And this is something that Masameta and Rampart talk about after the fact here. I do think it was interesting that like we're still trying to preserve the charade that the Senate is controlling things, even though they're really not.
They are definitely not. And it looks like a lot of the senators don't even know that.
No, they I think apart from Bale, I feel like most of them sort of think that they still have power.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They do, and they're obviously wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, and at any point we see here, I did think also, Pete, Senator Chuchi, I feel like this sort of fill in the Padme Amidala role. I feel like if she was still alive at this point in the timeline, I feel like she would be the type of senator who would be advocating for the rights of the clone troopers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very reminiscent of Padme. Very, very reminiscent.
I mean, Senator Chuchi's apartment feels like a copy of like Padme's apartment from the prequels.
Yeah, I mean, not to say they took a play out of the prequels book, but this seemed like I was watching a prequel movie. Like this seemed like the theme all the way through, which was nice. I mean, granted, Bad Batch season 2 doesn't take place much further after the prequels, so they took a play. I'll just say it. They took a play out of the prequels book, and I think it worked out for them.
Yeah, Nick, what do you think about the conversation we had between Masameta and Rampart here? Because Masameta is sort of acting like a heavy here, saying like, "Hey, like you told us this is going to be taken care of," and Rampart says, "Don't worry, she has no proof on this." So I do think it was fun to sort of see, like, we're going to take care of this as quickly as possible. And Masumeda trying to be basically being the heavy, trying to force him to get the thing done correctly.
But to me, I knew this was a two-part episode. I knew they were going to have to do with each other, otherwise they wouldn't come out at the same time, right?
Yep.
So when he says they don't have any proof, I'm thinking the first thing I thought is, oh, they're going to get proof.
Yeah.
So that just told me that. That's what I took away from this conversation.
Yeah, and Pete, we see that Senator Chuchi goes to the canteen, talks to a bunch of clones, says, "Hey, I want to fight for your rights here." And like, I do think it's a great conversation he has with the clones. The clones are like, "Yes, what do you guys want? Like, what happens after you retire?" And they're like, "We weren't programmed for this. Like, we have no idea what to do after you retire." So I think it was a fun point, sort of, again, rehash the point that, hey, like, these are just guys who were created to fight wars, and they were not really designed with the idea of, oh, you're gonna have a long, productive life society after this is done.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first time that we see, maybe not the first time, but maybe the most prominent time that we see some humanism put to the clones. The clones were always treated as these military officers, these soldiers that was it. They were made to be soldiers. They're going to die soldiers, and that is it. And when the clone trooper said we weren't trained for this, we don't know what happens after fighting. We don't know what happens after serving our empire or republic, whatever it is. It is a great angle that I think should have been explored more in the other Star Wars content we've seen, but I'm glad they're exploring it now.
Yeah, and this does make some sense. You get the enhanced aging thing reference again, Nick, because we do see Rex in this two-parter, and we forget that, like, in about 14 years, he Rex again in Rebels, that, like, he's a very old man at that point.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have nothing to add. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I do think here this speech that Senator Chuchi gives gets the attention of Slip. He basically tells her, like, hey, like, I know, like, what's happening here. This is not a storm. I was on the ship when Rampart bombed Kamino and basically killed a bunch of people there. So the next part of the episode here is them trying to sort of get Slip to come forward and testify in front of the Senate here. So, Nick, any thoughts on that before we get to bail?
Not really. I mean, what did you take away from that scene?
I did think it was interesting here of, like, how, like, Slip was, remember at the beginning episode that Kay was the one who was, like, immediately wants to come out, and Slip was the one trying to talk him out of it. And now I think Slip's a little spooked because he saw that, like, Kay gets gunned down probably for the information. So she's trying to get him to do the right. He's, like, conflicted. Like, has to do the right thing, but he's worried for his own skin.
Yeah, I see. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And Pete will go forward here to see Bail Organa show up, and Bail talks to Chuchi. He basically sends his R5 droid to recruit them to a conversation here. And what do you think of Deep Throat Bail Organa here? I feel like the times of Bail is sort of like really quoting Deep Throat and being like the sneaky source here for all these things.
Yeah, very sneaky. I don't know. Have we seen Bale in this kind of light as just like the source material instead of actually trying to do something behind the scenes? It seemed to me maybe it's we're just too early in the rebellion, or if we're not even in the rebellion yet, probably not even in rebellion yet because we're so new to the Empire. It's interesting to see him in this kind of role. I think just judging by what I've seen, I feel like Bail Organa was more of let's put action to it, not just have information. This was more just like, hey, you better watch out. I'm not gonna do anything, but you better watch out. Things are happening that you shouldn't like get yourself involved in, or you're gonna need X, Y, and Z to make a point, make a case, for the clones.
Yeah, and I think it's just tied back to Tales of the Jedi too, but we see Bail first try to recruit Ahsoka, like, hey, like, we're gonna, get something started here. And she's like, I'm not interested yet. And then sort of maybe Bail takes a cue from her. Says, you know what, like, let me sit back and sort of get a lay of the land before I start making moves.
Seems like kind of like what Mon Mothma was doing in Andor a little bit.
Yeah. Mom
Right?
took 15 years to figure that out.
Yeah, took a while. But yeah, absolutely. I think Bale knows what's going on here. He's one of the few, as we mentioned, and I guess in this, I would think actually by the end of this episode, or the end of these two episodes, that we decide that I think a lot of people in the Senate would take note on what's going on. You would think, like, it seems like only Bale kind of, I'm sure there's others, but Bale knows what's going on in the beginning, and I think by the end that a good chunk of the Senate would understand what's going on.
I don't think a lot of them got it, to be honest with you.
You don't?
No, I do not.
Think you tricked them all?
I think Palpatine snowed him.
Oh, well, Good for him then, huh?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. Also, we'll skip with come back to Deep Throat Bale for a bit here, and Chuchi finds Slip, and we found Slip isn't trying to get contact somebody to get off world. Slip gets assassinated by Empire sniper here. Chuchi is targeted by the sniper who kills a couple of her bodyguards, but she ends up being saved, Pete, by good old Captain Rex. He is back here to sort of save the day.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Captain Rex. That was a little bit of a surprise. I don't know who I was expecting. I was just kind of like, ooh, a new character that we know. Maybe a missed opportunity. Could have been a character that we knew from the Clone Wars. Instead of just using Rex again. But I mean, I wasn't mad about it. I think it was a good choice too.
Yeah, Nick, part of me thought, oh, maybe he's calling Cody. And I realized Cody probably went AWOL, but now there's no way to contact him. So I guess Rex does make the most sense.
Yeah, Rex is such a recognizable clone because you know how obviously they all look the same, right?
Yeah.
What did he take the helmet off? I go, oh, it's Rex, or the hood. Even though they all look exactly the same, I was positive it was Rex before anyone said anything. I was like, oh, there's Rex, and yeah, it's just he fit perfectly for that role, I think.
Yeah, and fun Easter egg, Nick, too, when like they capture the sniper and he and Senator Chuchi go down to the sub levels to interrogate him, that they use Trace and Rafa's garage as a staging area.
Yeah, I loved how he said they're not here, and then I'm thinking to myself, yeah, thankfully, you know.
Yeah, Pete, we haven't got to see the Martez sisters show up here to help out.
Very happy. Very.
Yeah, and I do think here, fun note that they try to interrogate him. Rex realized that this clone has basically had his ID scrubbed, sort of like a secret assassin that Rampart has hired here. And Nick, considering we watched Mando season 2 recently, like it was fun to see them bring back the electric suicide capsule that the Imperial officer used in that show.
Yeah, it was cool to see again.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, it was just really cool to see again, and yeah, I was just interested in that.
And we do find out that Rex learned from Slip that there is information on Rampart's ship to basically prove that he was bombed the thing. So this piece how we get the Bad Batch involved because Rex calls them and says, hey, come help us out here. I have a job for you guys.
That's me?
Pete, I think Pete lost the mute button.
I'm sorry. I think I lost you guys because all I heard was, is that me from Nick? Can you just repeat yourself, Mike? I'm sorry.
No worries. I was talking about how like this Rex realizes, oh, it's on, like gets the information that the proof is on Rampart's ship, and he calls the Bad Batch in to come help him and steal the information.
Yeah. I think there's there's our segue into the next episode, and I think it's a better mission than what Sid can give. So I was excited about that at least.
Yeah, Nick, were they throwing shade, say, at the beginning of the episode too? Because I think Wrecker's like
Wrecker said something too. He said, I'm getting tired of waiting for Sid. I don't think he was. I think Wrecker's just
bored.
Yeah, I think in his mind it's like if I'm not bashing skulls, I'm bored, and he just wants to bash skulls. You know what I mean? You know the kind of attitude I'm talking about.
Yeah. He's sort of like he's not a guy who can just sit around and like go to the beach for like a day. He needs to be doing something.
Yeah.
I also think before we get the Bad Batch showing up here, we do get like this. We did the conversation we got Nick again episode with Echo and Omega, so our foreshadowing Echo's choice at the end of the episode.
What was the conversation here? I don't remember it.
When Omega was meditating, he was talking about how he couldn't do it, and then like he thought his place on the team, about how like I would still be a prisoner, they didn't find me, but like sometimes you're doing more and stuff like that.
Yeah, he questions his place on the team, and I'll be honest, the Bad Batch has existed for over almost 3 years now because they came to be in the Clone Wars season 7, and I'm still questioning his place on the team.
Yeah,
so I agree with him.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a place on the team. He doesn't. He's just a veteran, I guess. But they're all the same age, so it makes no difference to me.
Yeah, so we do get this mission here, and we send Omega off with Senator Chuchi to stay with the center and work on her investigation here. So Pete, another fun Bale Organa deep throat moment here is when he really goes up to them in an alley. Use the line from All President's Men, follow the money. Literally, they just ripped it off from that movie.
I find it interesting that, and I know Omega's a child here, but I find it interesting that Bail Organa, not knowing who this person is, like, yeah, I'll just talk about all this stuff in front of them. I trust you, Chuchi. Like, to me, very reckless, very, very reckless. But yeah, another moment where there's some insider information going through that will eventually, and we'll talk about it, hurt or help their cause.
Yeah, it certainly will here. And then we see, let's stay with this investigation here. They find the former senator of Kamino here, and Nick, she reveals that the Republic was basically siphoning money off of the Kamino project for a while. So she basically accuses Rampart of embezzling.
Makes sense. The more you learn about the Republic and the Senate and the Jedi and everything, you realize that everyone's corrupt, and this entire story is about greedy people.
Yeah.
So, not surprised to hear it.
Yeah, and Omega was sort of the key to get this senator to testify here. She's like, "Why bother? Like, my people are gone; they're all scattered in the wind." And Omega basically plays like, "I'm a clone. That was my home. Like, I want to defend what's ours and defend our honor here." So I think it was a fun moment for Omega too, to sort of like give the emotional appeal to get the senator back on board.
Yeah, we completely agree.
Pete, was Omega interesting to you in this part of the episode?
No, I the reason why I say no is because Omega has flip flopped so much in the past, I don't know, 7 episodes, that it's just like, how can you go from being this kid who wants to go treasure hunting and had no care in the world to, I'm going to convince a senator to go and testify because I'm angry my planet was destroyed. It's like, which one are you? Are you the mature clone child that is supposed to be helping out your team, or are you the clone child that is literally a child that doesn't know what she wants? So it's a little confusing, a little back and forth. So sure, interesting scene, but it's just kind of like, okay, like Chuchi probably should have been the one that convinced the senator, not Omega, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's for sure here. And then we get the mission, Nick, where the Bad Batch and Rex have to infiltrate Rampart ships being repaired here. They find it's power down and that they have to turn the power on to attract this mission here. A lot of fun hijinks with this crew as they were sort of going through the ship trying to get this data.
Yeah, and it's like they say it earlier in the episode, or I think they actually might say it at the end of the previous one, but this is all in Coruscant, the Imperial heart of the galaxy. They're wanted by the Empire. They're infiltrating an Imperial ship. This is as dangerous as it gets. And they pull it off with flying colors.
Yeah. Pete, who was the most impressive part of that mission for you?
I mean, I liked all of it. I mean, I don't know if I have a moment. Honestly, it seems like all a blur because we watched the 2 episodes. But I mean, yeah, the mission itself was just impressive. I actually really just enjoyed the scene as a whole.
Yeah, I gave Echo and Tech as a tag team great job here, sort of using the coordinate technology to like fly the ship and sort of like crash it to sort of scare all the troopers off the ground, and using the escape pods to sort of.
I agree. That one was pretty cool. Yeah. I kind of that that was cool. Yeah, maybe that one. I'm gonna steal yours. I like that one.
You like that one here, and then we do see here that we go back to the Senate where they're about to have this vote here, and Chuchi is trying to stall for time and jerk the senator out, and Rampart correctly counters that, hey, like, why are you taking the word of disgraced senator here? Information is delivered here. The Bad Batch come through. Bail Organa plays the evidence that Rampart has bombed the Kamino, and that gets everybody into a furor until Palpatine emerges from the Senate floor here. After early episode, they were talking about how, he's never here. Here he shows up, Nick, and he has probably one of his more manipulative moments in a while.
Yep. They said it perfectly, I believe, in the scene after his. They said in the Clone Wars, Palpatine was a step ahead of us, and he still is. And no better way to put that. He is a step ahead of everybody, maybe 2 steps ahead, and used this entire thing to his own advantage to get what he wanted, which was to get rid of the clones, to recruit from within, or with the people, not within, but to get the people, train them less, and spend less money, and there you go. Cost saving.
Yeah, so to summarize here, I'll get Pete's reaction to this here. Palpatine comes up here and says, "Oh my goodness, this is devastating. Like, I can't believe that this Admiral Rampart would act on his own accord. Arrest him. He's the one responsible for this." But what does this tell you people about the clones? The fact that they were so willing to follow orders, they didn't even question bombing these innocent people here. So he basically manipulates the entire Senate to vote his way.
Yeah, what a powerful moment. Even it's only 45 seconds, 30 seconds.
Yep.
It's such a good part of the episode.
Yeah, it's a great part of the episode here. And Nick, I did think it was fun afterwards that we had the moment where the Bad Batch sort of realized, like, hey, like, he played us. Like he knew
Yep.
exactly what he wanted, and he got what he wanted.
Yep, that's right.
And it makes sense. I mean, he's a calculating Sith Lord. I'm sure he's outplaying 5 clone troopers and 2 senators.
I mean, yeah, he's. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it because we know the outcome. We know the clones are not treated fairly after the war. We can see that especially in Kenobi. Remember, he sees that live action clone. I believe that's episode 2 of Kenobi.
Yeah.
We know that's the case. So there you go. But to see it happening in front of us, why they don't have the rights that the regular human or would have, or the protection in any way, is interesting to see.
Yeah, and Pete, this moment also helps them, I'm sure, like save money because like when you play it that way, like I'm sure that Senator Chuchi's pitch for pensions for the clones is completely thrown out the window by this.
Absolutely. Oh, completely thrown out the window.
No pensions, no cloning anymore. Well, he got rid of that by destroying Kamino. Such saves an enormous amount of money.
Yeah, and Rampart's the fall guy because he was covered pretty much either way. Because either Rampart successfully gets them to vote for it, and then they don't have to worry about it, or if the information comes out, Rampart's a rogue agent. And it's his fault.
Yep, and you don't have to like spend any money on recruiting either. Like this is the army. You just put a couple billboards up. People are gonna come to you. Everyone knows what the Empire is. It's not like you need to advertise much, you know.
You know, people, I was mistaken. What they talk about in the beginning of it, they were conscripting soldiers here, basically to draft people to be in the stormtrooper forces.
So I may have gotten the wrong interpretation. Didn't Rampart speak almost like, wouldn't we want soldiers that want to join us and weren't just made to fight for us? Like, I think that wasn't that one of his like speaking points.
I think that was his speaking point to the Senate, but he's not going to tell the Senate they were going to make everyone do it.
I see. Okay, so that's where I probably got confused.
I just realized it must have been like when he's talking about Matt, talking about conscripting the soldiers.
Yeah, I think it was literally like one of the very first scenes of the first part of the 7th episode. Excuse me. But yeah. I mean, it's the Empire. Of course, they're gonna just draft people into it.
Yep, and we do get a key moment here is that Echo has made an important decision. Nick, he decided that he is going to lead the Bad Batch for now. He's going to work with Rex to do more to, sort of to help do more for people here, and it leaves a mark on Omega here. And what do you think about this decision here? This is something you've been screaming about from the high.
Yeah, I think it was all BS. They made it up on the spot in the show because they listened to our podcast and they realized that Echo and Tech are the same person, and you don't need both of them. So there you go. Get rid of Echo. Hopefully, it's not one of those situations where he's gone for 3 episodes and comes back. And I'm not saying I want him off the show completely, but don't make him part of the Bad Batch anymore. Bad Batch works as it is. You have characters who are all unique. You have the leader. You have the muscle. You have the brains. You have the guy who can shoot, but he's not really part of the crew anymore. And you have the kid. Like, everyone has their unique personality. When you have 2 of them that are the same, when there's too many of them, you lose interest in them. The fact that there's going to be one less now, I think it's going to be really good for the rest of the season.
I really find we see Echo with Rex and getting some of his story.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Because I think that makes more sense too. And Pete, I do think this sort of helps a lot here. I feel like having Echo, he's sort of the one who's had a backbone here for the whole time. We got to do more to help out. And seeing him leave to do that, you wonder maybe if it gets the rest of these guys start thinking more about what their own life choices.
Yeah, I also think it frees up the space for Crosshair to come back. I'm sure we'll talk about what our theories are for the rest of the season, but I think this whole episode makes a nice little pathway into Crosshair making his way back to fighting with the Bad Batch and not against them.
Yeah, it does open the slot on the ship, Nick. We could have like a 4th the original together at some point.
Could be.
I still think they have work to do to earn that, though.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Crosshair.
I mean, I was surprised he was not in this episode at all.
I'm surprised he wasn't, but I'm happy he wasn't because it was just all new.
Yeah, I like that we're sort of, though, I did like the choice to keep him in the background sort of mysterious because I know D. Bradley Baker said in his interview there's a big episode with Crosshair coming up in about a couple of weeks. So I would not be surprised if you don't see him again until that.
Right.
All right. I think that's it for the episode here. I think we did a good job sort of wrapping it up here. It's Pete. I mean, Nick, the plot here on this episode is taking us longer than I think the last 3 weeks combined.
It makes sense. A lot going on in this one. It was a good one, and there were 2. So
yeah, good one, and there were 2 here. Let's get to our trackers now in terms of what we're keeping track of here. So, Pete, once again, no Hondo this week. It was not episode season, but I'm losing faith we're going to see him this season.
I know. What? I know. We gotta petition. We gotta petition to get Hondo in one of these shows.
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna take.
Yeah, we'll start the petition. We'll start the change.org petition next week here. We'll get that going here. But Nick, live action characters, you're now up to 7. We added 4 this week, actually 5 this week. We got two from Bale, 2 from Masameda, and 1 from Palpatine. So we're from 2 to 7 this week.
You're missing one.
Who did I miss?
Heinra Pamlo, the senator from Rogue One, was the senator speaking in the Senate.
All right, so I'll add that on the board next week. So that's
I'll give you the spelling. It is Tynra. Heinra, last name Pamlo. Pamlo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but if you look her up, you will see who she was, and you'll go, oh, yeah, her.
Was in both episodes?
I think she was in both episodes. She was in the she was wearing the hood. She was the senator wearing the hood, and it was actually the same voice actress too who played her in Rogue. Oh, the voice actress was the actress in Rogue One.
Yeah, that's a nice poll. So good catch on you, Nick. I'm gonna update the next week. So we're up to 10 then if she's in both.
I'm almost positive she's in both.
Yes,
like, I'm 99% sure she's in both.
We'll fact check that one for next week.
Okay.
Planets here. We're up to 9, Nick, as well, because we got the Coruscant finally.
Yes, that's great.
All right, so though we're not halfway, we hit 9 planets. So now I think we're a little jeopardy of your hitting your under on the over.
19.5, yeah, especially at the end, they slow down too. So
yeah. I think we might hit the under now.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hit the under as well.
All right, next up here, Pete. Best episode in a while because there's no Sid mission. We're still stuck on 4.
I'm very happy about that. I think everyone agrees with me on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone now 3 whole episodes. That's it, which means I'm worried we're gonna see her next week.
Yeah. I don't want to think about it. Let me enjoy what this was this week.
All right. Last but not least here, the Clone Tracker. We added another 4 this week. Got Slippin' Cade in episode 7, then Rex twice. So went from 3 to 7 here, Nick.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so 3 of our trackers updated this week. Now we're going to go to the...
Also to note, though, like I just want to note, I know we don't have an animated tracker, but it is to note that Senator Chuchi is not a new character. Like, she was in numerous episodes of the Clone Wars. I just want to make sure the audience is aware of that.
Yeah, I thought I mentioned that earlier in the show, but like...
You did? Okay. Yeah, and another thing to note is the species that she is. I believe it's Pantoran.
I'll take your word for that.
It's the same species of the character that George Lucas plays in Star Wars. So you know the character that he plays?
Yep.
The guy who's sitting outside the opera house when Anakin's running in to talk to Palpatine about Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yep.
So that is an interesting fact. And I also just noticed a couple other things. I just noticed, like, the guy who was in charge of the... Oh, man, I don't know what he was in charge of, actually. One of the senators. He had, like, the big gold hat on his head that went back like this. That's it's the same species that was in the Separatists. And the banking clan has their leader here too, which just shows that all of these systems that defected from the Republic and were in the Separatists, now that the war is over, are back in the Republic. Similar to like the United States with the Civil War. The South seceded and they're back. And it's just interesting to see that. Like, you see the banking clan here. You see, I'm not sure who they run, to be honest with you. These people. They're called the Gossams. I'm not sure what they run in the Separatists, but they're also here. And I just find that interesting that when the war is over, everyone is together. So now we know what happens to Separatists after the war. They join the Empire.
They get dragged into the Empire.
Not against their own will. Well, I don't know if it's against their own will, because does this guy, not this one specifically, because the one from the Clone Wars died, but he died on Mustafar. Anakin killed almost all of them, but those guys probably knew the plan, right?
Well, I don't think they knew the plan. I mean, there's no way they knew that, the whole idea of Vader coming in and sort of like wiping out that leadership. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on board with it.
I don't think they knew every detail, but I think they may have known that Palpatine was Sidious and he was going to end the war and bring everyone together.
Yeah.
They may have known that. I don't know.
It's a fun plot point to consider for the future here, but let's get now to our MVP and LVP section here. These are the best and worst characters from the season as we have been ranking them so far. As of right now, Commander Cody is on top of the board at +3. Gungi, Tech, and Wrecker are +2. Echo and Romar +1. Hunter dropped from +2 to 0 after Nick and Pete dinged him last week in the LEP section. -1s. Vice Admiral Rampart, Crosshair, Governor Groton, Tawny Ames, Disney, Omega, and Venom are all -1s. And Sid's down there by our lonesome at -4. So that's the board thus far here. So we're going to give out 1 point for these 2 episodes, Nick, because this is basically one combined story.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Should I kick us off?
If you can start us here.
I gotta go with Palpatine.
I knew you were doing that.
He manipulated everybody, and I mean, it was a perfect job. I mean, what more do you want from an MVP?
Yeah, he did exactly what he was supposed to here. I'm going to give this one to Senator Chuchi because I feel like she did a great job trying to, fight for the rights of the clones, trying to prove that the genocide Kamino happened. And she does get Rampart arrested. So there is some progress, even though she did not get what she wanted entirely. So I'll give her an MVP point for her efforts here. So Pete, I want to wrap up the MVPs of the week.
I have to be boring and go with Nick's choice. I was gonna say Palpatine as well, just like he was one step ahead of everyone, manipulated everyone, and it was such a powerful 30 seconds that he gets the MVP for both episodes for me.
Yeah, and Nick, I do want to give an honorable mention to Deep Throw Baylor again. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. LVP section here. I'm going to kick us off here and say this, throw this out the panel here. Is there anyone that's not a clean sweep for Vice Admiral Rampart?
I don't think Rampart's the LVP for me.
I'm giving it to
yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'll go last.
I'm giving it to Rampart because I feel like with how arrogant he was, oh, they can't do this. They can't prove this. Honestly, once you bomb Kamino, why are these records still on your ship? Delete the damn file as soon as you get home. I get that you were at the witnesses. Then you say, hey, their word against mine. I'm the proven admiral. And these guys just random soldiers here. The fact that he left the video on his ship for be stolen and proves against him to get arrested and played like a fool by Palpatine and Masameda, bad job.
I mean, sure.
I mean, delete the audio. Delete the evidence. It's not hard.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that.
So who are you going with, Pete? You said Rampart's not your LVP.
I'm going with Chuchi because she single-handedly probably got all the clones killed now. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, not to say that she shouldn't have stood up for them, but she went above and beyond to prove something that, I mean, and granted, obviously hindsight's 2020, I'm sure as a character, she's probably shouldn't have done this, but she tried to expose the Empire because he was, Rampart was a part of the Empire and go against the Empire, and it bit her in the face. And now Emperor Palpatine's like, we can't trust the clones. Who knows what he's going to do with the clones? If he's going to have them ordered to be killed, if he's going to, whatever. So I have to give her the LVP. I don't think she actually thought this through. I think she was trying to do the right thing 100%, but I don't think she actually understood what she was getting herself into.
Nick, who's your LVP?
It's a good point Pete makes. I didn't think about it, honestly. But I'm also giving it to Rampart just because I think he was evil. And I think that's the LVP. He was evil. But for a while, I wanted to give it to the other senator, the one of the banking clan, because he was just like, we know you want this because it benefits you. Anything that benefits you, you're going to say. It was just so painfully obvious why he was doing that. But I decided to give it to Rampart instead. And
this split decision means that Sid is still and Soul Wheels at the bottom of the leaderboard, LVP leaderboard, Pete.
Good.
Sorry, I can't find the mute button at least once a show. Yeah, no, that's where she belongs.
Sure some
character.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll have more points coming up here. And next up here, go to the grades. We're going to grade the episode on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is worse than what we got 2 weeks ago when they were treasure hunting here. And 10 is up here with the Andor Prison Break episodes, the best Star Wars content of all time here. So, Pete, you want to start us off here, the grade for episode 7?
Yeah, episode 7's getting a 7 from me. I thought it was a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. I think there were some points that could have made it better, but overall, it was still a great episode. So 7 for me.
Nick.
10. When I watch the Bad Batch on a Wednesday morning or evening, whenever I get around to be able to watch it, I'm not expecting anything better than that. That blew me away.
All right. I'm giving it an 8 because I enjoyed the episode a lot. I don't think it was better than the episode 3 that we got here. I'm gonna give it the slight demerit that none of the actual Bad Batch characters were in it. That's the thing. When the show is called the Bad Batch, you don't have any of them. I think you should not get a 10 for that, but I think it's still a solid 8. Next up here, episode 8. Pete, you're great for that one.
Jumping up to a 9. Really, really enjoyed it. We get the action. We get the plot twist at the end where Palpatine pretty much says, nah, reverse Uno card. I'm actually going to get what I want, even though Rampart didn't do his job. So definitely a 9 for me.
Nick.
Another 10. This was to me the great, perfect mid-season finale. It was a perfect job, and yeah, I'm not really a political person in real life, but I love the politics of Star Wars, and the fact that we got to see a lot of politics was just amazing for me.
I'm gonna go with Peter. Give it a 9. The one demerit here is that we had to shoehorn Omega into the Chuchi plot, and that made like the fact that Pete made a great point about why now Omega has to go back from I want to go treasure every week 2 episodes ago to now like I'm the emotional heart of this one made no sense to me. Other than that, it was perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for this week. Next week here, the episode is entitled "The Crossing." Here, I feel like we're gonna be due, Nick. Unfortunately, we're gonna get a cool down from all this action here. I think we're gonna get a Sid mission. It's not gonna be very fun.
You don't think it's going to be about Crosshair when it's called The Crossing?
Well, I mean, they did tell. I mean, going off of D. Bradley Baker, you said the Crosshair is about 3/4 of the way into the season, so I don't think that's next week.
Well, there could be an episode with him in it that's not the one he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm expecting that it is some sort of like job for Sid where they end up basically trying to run a blockade or something. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Pete, any ideas about this episode we're getting next week?
There will be a dinner with Bosk. No, I'm kidding. That's stolen. I think we're going to continue the clone trooper angle. But I do think a Sid mission will be involved on top of that, which makes me very sad.
Yeah, I think we're still waiting. I think we're still a few weeks away from the breakup with Sid.
You notice that every week they have this title. We know the title of the next episode. This one's called The Crossing. We've had other ones in the past, obviously. And we hear it and we sit here and we guess what it's about. And then when it happens, it's like, oh, that was so obvious.
Yeah.
So let's see what the obvious thing is.
Yeah, Tribe, last week, we should have had that one.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for Bad Batch weekend. We'll be back on Monday for Mando Mondays here. The Mando cut of the Book of Boba Fett here. We're filling in the missing pieces if you have to not watch Boba Fett about what happened with Mandalorian there, because spoiler, he showed up.
Yeah, he definitely does, and he's the best part of that show. So definitely watch it for that.
Yeah, and Nick, ironically, one thing I forgot about this here, Pedro Pascal gets star billing on the show too, right behind the Tim Morrison and Ming-Na Wen. He's the third lead on that show.
I mean, I don't like Tim Morrison. Yeah. He does his best. I mean, you can't make it anybody else. It has to be him. So I guess it's him.
Yeah, but I did think that was quite funny. But we're talking about that on Monday here. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in here for this week's episode of the Bad Batch cover. I really appreciate it here. Pete, people want to follow on social media. How can I do that?
You can follow me on Twitter at PJ Consadori29.
Yep, tweeting some hockey, I'm sure, because I know there's a lot of Ranger trade rumors out there right now.
A lot of Ranger trade rumors out there for sure. Not a big basketball guy, but Nick had told us, what was it, Westbrook got traded?
Russell Westbrook off the Lakers.
Yeah, so the trade deadline's coming up, I guess, for both basketball and hockey. I'm not sure if it's the same date or in the same ballpark date for the trade.
Yeah, they're always similar. I know basketball's Thursday. Not sure which day hockey is.
I'll just take a month from now, I think.
Yeah, we still got a little bit of time.
Oh.
A little bit of time, not too crazy. But yeah, no, definitely gonna be tweeting some hockey. And Rangers, apparently there's 6 or 7 guys that the Rangers are trying to get, maybe, in the rumor mill. Tarasenko's been thrown out there. Kane, Timo Meyer. So we'll see.
We will see here. And Nick, one more time, if you want to follow the Instagram, how can I do that?
At Sky Guys Podcast. We'll be happy to have you.
Yep. You guys will follow us on Twitter at Sky Guys Twitter. You guys will follow me on Twitter, MPhillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This week on the Justin Summary podcast, we got you ready for the Super Bowl. We got a Super Bowl preview episode up there with Pro Football Guru Russell Baxter. We had some Super Bowl picks, and Nick submitted his Super Bowl pick to the blog post over on justinthesuffering.com. So that's it. I'm going to check out here.
I'm rooting against my own pick. Spoiler alert.
Absolutely. That's it for this week. Until then, until next week, guys, till we do episode 9 of the Bad Batch, may the force be with you.